Hey now, what is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and with our most recent DC film that just came out, I decided to re-rank my favorite DCU movies thus far. There are 6 films to talk about, so let's start with the bottom of the barrel. The last movie, the movie that I dislike the most with DCU, the movie that I have less interest in rewatching is Justice League, which I know is weird to say. I know it's weird to think about because technically this is what this was all for, right? To build up, to have all these characters connect and anticipate and have them all meet and have our big team up film. And I might have had fun with this the first time I saw it in the theater, sure, but every time I've rewatched it, I've enjoyed it less and less. I think there's too much comedy. And obviously, Joss Whedon coming on as a co-writer, or he reshot some of this stuff. You can tell there's moments where I think Ben Affleck is being too jokey, and that's obviously the script because we've seen him be more serious. Even though this is a world-ending threat, it feels very small, especially at the end with the end battle, and we're just following that one family. You don't get a good scope of how world destructive this plot is as much as they want to make us believe it. And we've seen a bunch of superhero movies that have had that world ending like threat. Steppenwolf as a villain was so underdeveloped, so not scary. The CGI doesn't help. He doesn't look like a real character. He looks like a video game. And them name dropping Darkseid does not make me have more anticipation for what could come. Introducing Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg all in one movie was a huge gamble. I don't think it paid off because a lot of them, you're just meeting them other than that one scene in BVS. So you're having to try to connect to 3 new characters, and it's hard. Cyborg, I thought maybe was the most interesting out of all of them, and Flash was my least favorite. His humor, Ezra Miller, whatever they were doing with him, I have no interest really in seeing him get his own film. Resurrecting Superman was huge, and it was really from that point when he does wake up and has that fight with them, that's where the movie kicks it up a notch. That's where I get more interested. It just sucks that we have to look at that fake CGI mustache issue. It's still, every time I watch it, it's glaring. As much as I want to ignore it, as much as people say, oh, if you didn't know about it before, you would never know. BS! It's in your face of how weird looking the mouth looks, and you try to get past it, but it's hard. It's hard. Lex Luthor and Deathstroke being the after credit scene is something that it does make me look forward to the future and what we could do. However, it doesn't seem like anything's really going to come of that scene, so it's almost like it was all for naught. Next up is Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. These are 2 of the biggest movies with the DC. You would think that these would be at the top of the list, but as much as I didn't like the comedy in Justice League, I could argue that this movie is too dark. And it's hard, I know, it's hard to find a medium. It's hard to find just the right amount of humor with just the right amount of seriousness. And it's mostly seeing the media in this movie beat up Superman and just downgrade him and browbeat him over and over again. I do like some of the conversation. I do like that there are some people who fear Superman and question him, very realistic, but you never get a sense of hope with the character. The fact that he has to die for anyone to care about him is upsetting to me. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, oh my god. I can't take this version of the character. I can't take this awkwardness and this quirkiness and whatever they're trying to go for. I have still yet to see a better Lex Luthor than Michael Rosenbaum on Smallville. Ben Affleck as Batman is one of the best parts of this, he is very serious. He is very dark. He is determined, and you do understand why he sees Superman as a threat, especially that opening scene. That opening scene, when you watch that, you think this movie is going to be gold. And seeing Doomsday, I will say that that's kind of a positive, although I don't love the way Doomsday looks, and I do think it was too early to do a story like Doomsday. Next up is Suicide Squad. I know some people are surprised I even have it this high on the list, if you want to call it high, but there's a part of me that really enjoys parts of this film. The first half, especially, I don't mind the editing. I don't mind the music. I don't mind how they introduce the characters. In fact, I like it. It's very comic booky. It's very over the top, but it fits the crazy zaniness, like with some of the characters. They're all bad guys. Harley Quinn is a huge bright spot. Margot Robbie does a great job, and I was getting nervous on how we were going to have Harley Quinn in a movie for the first time, and this works. She works so well. Deadshot, it's Will Smith, so you're going to have fun with this character. Captain Boomerang, Jai Courtney. I never thought I could be this high on Jai Courtney, but this movie he was able to have fun and use his real accent. Amanda Waller was just the right amount of evilness, just the right amount of cold-heartedness. Viola Davis played that perfectly. And here's where we get to the problems, though. Enchantress as the villain, not necessary. She's not the type of villain that a group of criminals, most of them without powers, should go up against. It doesn't really make sense. If Enchantress showed up as a villain, you'd probably call a superhero. That's where the script is an issue. The group is thrown together, the way how the villain is just established and creates all those black zombie-like things. It feels rushed. It feels like nothing was well thought out. And the Joker, I go back and forth on Jared Leto's Joker. I do think I appreciate that they tried something different. David Ayer clearly likes this whole tattooed look, gangster look that he's had in a lot of his movies. And Jared Leto is a good actor. He does pull off some of the insanity. I don't love this Joker. I don't love it's hard to not compare him to past Jokers. And when he's not, in my opinion, as good as some of those past Jokers, you do get disappointed in that way. Next up, Aquaman. Aquaman is my third favorite DCU movie. It just came out, so it is recent, but I think Jason Momoa is a lot of fun. Amber Heard is a big hero-like character. Mira was great. Nicole Kidman was a badass in her own right, and I like that she got those moments. Patrick Wilson was a great villain. Ocean Master, well, he has moments, man. He is developed. He's not a one-track villain, as I've seen some people say. And Black Manta, I know this movie's 2.5 hours long. It is a bit too long, but I think that's more backstory stuff that we could have trimmed out and cut out. Black Manta is not the problem. I think his backstory is good. I think this actor is good. And I think the look of Black Manta, I could not have asked for anything more or anything better when it comes to especially the big chase scene, fight scene in Italy. My number 2, Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot as Diana Prince, for somebody who was as criticized as she was, for somebody who everyone said, hey, she can't act. Look at her in the Fast and Furious movie. She proved everyone wrong. She got in the shape. She commands that leading heroic stance. She has that presence. I buy her as this character, as somebody who is fighting for humanity. They played up her naiveness for comedy, but it never made her look dumb. It always made her endearing. And Themyscira, the island, I thought looked gorgeous. I almost never thought I would see a Wonder Woman origin story told so well and look this good. Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, he provided a lot of comedy too. And I'm not saying, here's the perfect example of, I'm not saying that DC movies can't have comedy or they shouldn't, because it can work. In this movie, it does work. Their dynamic is very funny and fun. And their love story It's not till the very end of the movie where you feel it, but that last scene between the two of them before he goes up in the helicopter, that's emotional. I almost got as much emotion from their dynamic as I did from Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter, and that's saying something because that was a huge moment as well. The villains are probably the biggest issue. Danny Huston and Dr. Poison are very goofy and don't really fit this film. And Ares, I like that they used Ares. I like that we got to see a Wonder Woman versus Ares battle at the end, but I do think it's a little too CGI-y for my take. I know some people are surprised that that's not my number one. I know a lot of people who that is their number one, and that's fine. I can't argue with that. The movie's great. The No Man's Land scene alone is enough to make that movie number one for sure. But for my number one DCU film, you can tell Man of Steel. Yeah, this movie still does it for me. Whenever I rewatch it, I get a lot of those similar feelings that I had in the theater when I saw this in IMAX. Seeing Krypton and the destruction of Krypton, it looks gorgeous. I love that they went for something completely different from the Christopher Reeve movie. Russell Crowe as Jor-El. I like that they not only used him well at the beginning, but found ways to use him throughout the movie and have him teach Clark how to become a hero. Henry Cavill, I love as Superman. I think he gets a lot to do, obviously the most to do in this first movie, and I like seeing that hero's journey. I like seeing even the scene of him learning to fly. He has so much emotion on his face and how much fun he's having. Amy Adams as Lois Lane. I love her as Lois Lane. I do. Amy Adams is one of my favorite actresses today, and I like that they rewrote Lois to be more smart. Let's be honest. She figures out who Clark Kent is in the very beginning of the movie, and that's the smartest way to play it. You can't have her be fooled by glasses. It's kind of ridiculous. And I like their relationship. I like that she is willing to lie for him, get in trouble by the government to protect his secrets. She does a lot for him. So I buy the kiss that they share at the end. Michael Shannon as General Zod. Great actor, great person to play a villain. He is scary. But he has his moments of being sympathetic where you understand he just wants to save the Kryptonian race. He wants to preserve them. He wants to bring them back. He doesn't care about humans. What are they to him? And I like the moments where it feels like an alien invasion, where he's addressing the world. The only issue I have is that he doesn't say kneel before Zod. They totally should have had him do that at least once. The end battle is a spectacular to watch. It is. I know some people don't love it. I know some people think it's too much, but I think it's gorgeous. I think it's so much fun to see Superman punch something. My issues, yeah, you have Superman kill General Zod. I'm not somebody who hates it as much as other people do. I know that they present it in a way where he seemed like he had no choice, and his reaction to having to kill him, I think, is played up with the right amount of emotion, the right amount of regret. So I'm fine with that. My biggest issue here in this movie is Jonathan Kent. I've talked about this 100 times, and I'll gladly talk about it again. I like Kevin Costner. I do. I like his performance. I do think he plays Jonathan well for the most part, but I don't like that he's basically encouraging Clark to not save people just to hide a secret. I know the danger and him being scared. Yeah, it makes sense, but him saying you should have let kids drown in the school bus, no. My Jonathan would not say that. I hate how they changed his death scene to the hurricane. I just think it's silly. I think it's too much to ask me to believe that Clark Kent would not go and try to save Jonathan and that he would just let him die because Jonathan told him no. I don't buy it. I really, really don't. They should have just kept it as the heart attack death. Anyways, guys, obviously these movies still need some work. They still could have a better track record, but I do think we have some solid films in there. We have some disappointing ones for sure. Let me know in the comments below, what is your ranking for DCU movies? Do you like my list? What would you change? What's your number one favorite? What's your least favorite and why? Like, comment, subscribe. Later!